Hello, I'm going to show you my method for gluing up tops and backs. I apologize for the word anchor being backwards, but I'm using selfie mode to make this video. For starters, it's important that you have a clean and straight edge between your two pieces of wood that you're gluing up. This is old Gibson factory reject mahogany that was bought at auction in Kalamazoo. You need to be able to put the two pieces together and hold it up to a light and not be able to see light creeping out between the two pieces. If it's a top, you can have a little space at one end because that's going to end up getting covered by the fingerboard anyway. But if it's the back, you have to have enough good joined surfaces to make your back out of. So this is actually another back that I'd made, and by looking at this, I can see that if I was to draw around this, that I would have enough material to make a back or a top out of this mahogany. So just make sure you're squared away and have a nice tight fit. And so this is the way I do it. I have a 24 by 26 inch piece of 3/4 inch plywood, which is of a nice grade because you don't want a lot of knot holes and irregularities on the surface. And I drew a center line right down the middle of that 24 by 26 inch piece. I actually have this suspended up on little Irwin clamps, but I suppose you could install little furniture legs to it if you wanted to be nicer about it. And the center line is where the two pieces, the two sides, are the pieces that are going to form the back, are going to meet. So you line them up like this, and once I get that figured out, I place my anchor, which is a 1.5 by 3/4 inch piece of, well, I have two pieces of mahogany, two pieces of oak. It doesn't really matter, it just needs to be hard. And they're 26 inches long to match this diameter. And once I place that, I bring in some large C-clamps and I nail this down real good. This is going to be the piece that we're going to pull against, because what we're going to do is we're going to put another one of these braces in, and I'm going to use a furniture clamp, and we're going to compress it between this piece and this piece. And so before we do that, of course, we have to apply glue. I'm not going to do that in this. This is part one. Part two of this video, I'm going to film it, the actual gluing process and everything, in time lapse so that you can see it all put together. The one thing I failed to do was put a piece of parchment underneath the joint. So this needs to go underneath both pieces of wood, and that keeps the wood from sticking to your piece of plywood. Okay, so let's pretend that I didn't forget to put that under there. So the next thing we do is we wet the surface. I should have wet this surface before I nailed it down. And I would take glue, and I use Type Bond 3 for any glue joint that I could never imagine taking apart again. And I run a bead of glue down, put the two pieces together, slide them back and forth a little bit, get it nicely distributed. Then I take a wet cloth and I wipe out the squeeze out, and then I throw another piece of parchment on top. And I'm going to take the parchment out because you'll be able to see why I put the brace where I did. If you see where the center line is, with the brace positioned there, this next brace is going to sit right on top of the joint, making it nice and even. And the reason I use parchment, I used to use wax paper until one day I ran out of wax paper, and I had to use parchment, and much to my delight, it peeled off just like wax paper. But more importantly, wax paper tends to seal in the moisture, and parchment tends to soak up moisture, so the glue joints dry much faster. On a spruce or cedar top, you're safe to take it apart at 45 minutes, and on mahogany, you might want to think about doubling that time. So what I'm doing now is running out of clamps. So I'm gonna loosely hold this brace in place. I want it to be able to move, but I don't want it to be able to move so much that when I apply pressure in this direction, that the one piece can jump over the other. So those are nicely loose but snug. Then I'm putting, this is the pushing brace in place here. And again, I'm just going to put it on loosely so that it can move, because it's going to need to be able to move when I apply the furniture clamps. Okay. Alright, that's still moving. And so the wood, when I apply the pressure, so that to avoid the wood buckling up, I take a last brace, put it right in the middle to hold that piece of wood down, and just use a couple of spring clamps to begin with. Oops. Okay, so next come the furniture clamps, and these are 20-inch furniture clamps. And so I'm going to grab hold at this point and at this point. I'm just going to snug it up, not tight, just snug. Do the same thing for the other side, just snug. You might have to go back and tighten the other one a little bit so it doesn't fall off when you start putting on these other braces. Okay, once you have all 4 furniture braces in place, snug them down till you can hear the wood creaking under there, and this brace will actually start to pick up a little bit like this. So the order in which we clamp down the braces is first the pushing brace, then the middle brace, and then we secure the brace that sits over the joint. So first, I'm securing the pushing brace. Tightening down either side. Oops. Then using just a single brace on the centerpiece, on the piece that keeps the wood from bowing. And once both of these are flattened down, I've achieved maximum pressure at the joint. I'm going to tighten up these side guys. And let's see if this one will reach. Yep. And put one sort of in the middle. Okay, and that's done. And like I said, for mahogany, you probably want to wait an hour, hour and a half. spruce or cedar, 30 to 45 minutes. And don't forget your parchment paper both above and below the joint. The braces on the pushing piece, the middle piece, and the piece over the joint are left slightly loose until we get the furniture clamps all clamped down. Of course, the brace that is anchoring the whole thing gets tightened down before anything else happens. And once we get the furniture clamps all tightened down, then first we start with the pushing brace, tighten it down, the middle brace, tighten it down, and then the brace over the joint, tighten that down. Okay, so this is the end of part one. Part two will be a time-lapsed repetition of everything so that you can see it happen in a short period of time.